Welcome to the Mr. Skin Podcast, your weekly dose of what's new and what's nude in movies, TV, and Hollywood's sexiest stars. Now get ready for your host, the world's foremost authority on celebrity nudity, Mr. Skin.
The legendary Mr. Skin.
Dude, Mr. Skin.
MrSkin.com.
Skin, everybody.
Coast to coast from Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, it's the Mr. Skin Podcast with your hosts, Mr. Skin and Andrea Lowell. We want to hear from you. Call the show and leave us a voicemail at 484-SKIN-POD. Find all things Mr. Skin Podcast online at MrSkinPodcast.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mr. Skin Podcast. This is episode 61, and we are going to get down with some anticipated nudity, what we're calling over here at the Mr. Skin headquarters, the Fun Bag Forecast. Hey, Mr. Skin, how are ya?
Hey, Andrea, how are you? Yeah, normally the Mr. Skin podcast is all about, you know, what happened on television over the weekend and what's out this week and catching up on all the television stuff. But there's also a lot of times I get asked, what can we expect in nudity?
Right.
What's coming up to get excited about? And I haven't talked about this in a while. And I got to tell you, it's funny because we get these, I always get these notifications, and I talk to the writers and the content people that are at the Mr. Skin offices, and I always know pretty much what's coming up. But I decided for this week's podcast to kind of do, you know, a whole fun bag forecast of everything nudity-wise that's going to be coming up over the next 3 or 4 months. So
yes,
we started to put it together, Andrea.
Yeah.
And there was so much. It was literally, I'm not exaggerating, there were 50 things that we know are going to have nudity. I said, all right, that's way too much for a podcast. To keep it interesting and fun and move along, I'm going to cherry pick like my 14 or 15 favorite things. So
nice.
Yeah, it was incredible how much is out there, and not only that we have to keep up with daily, but also tracking what's going to happen. So that's what today's podcast is going to be about. But these are my favorites. These are things that I'm really excited about that'll be coming up in the coming weeks and months.
Well, you are the authority, so whatever you are looking forward to, whatever you're anticipating is what the world should be looking forward to. So let's get it started.
Well, let me start. First of all, we talked last week in the podcast about The Deuce, that
yes,
cool show on HBO. And it's a show that I'm really excited about because it's David Simon, the guy from The Wire,
right.
And it's about the 1970s and 80s, an era near and dear to my heart when porn and prostitution were rampant in New York City around 42nd Street. So, and here's the deal. When I talked last week, it was, we had seen the first episode because if you have HBO Go or HBO Now, they released the first episode. So we got a sneak preview, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And the first episode of Maggie Gyllenhaal nude, Margarita Leveva, we've already talked about that. But what was really interesting is they somehow, some way, and I don't know if this was part of the HBO hack, I don't know if this is some Russian infiltration, but on the internet, we saw just some stills of upcoming nude scenes for the future episodes.
Excellent.
And I got to tell you, it's going to be pretty awesome. I know Emily Mead is one of the actresses that's going to be naked, but bottom line is what we saw in the first episode only scratches and sniffs the surface of what we're going to see, because this show is going to be loaded with great nudity. So I'm really excited about The Deuce. And actually, this still is an upcoming show.
Right.
It won't debut until this coming up Sunday, the first episode, which we already saw. So,
okay.
And I got to think, Andrea, that a show about the 70s and 80s sex porn industry, New York City, Times Square, it's got to be heavy Merkin show, don't you think?
It has to be, because I don't see how anyone in today's, age could be wearing or rocking rather a full bush 70s, 80s style. So yeah, it's going to be probably heavily Merkined up, but we'll take it however we can get it. And we like that look too.
Oh, I love it. And so here's the deal with this stuff. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today that are coming up, we know for a fact there's going to be nudity. Others are shows that maybe has had good nude scenes in the past that we're excited are coming up that we assume will have good nudity, but and others we have no clue, but we're very hopeful. So when I go through this, keep in mind some of the in some instances we're 100% for sure, and others we're just kind of hopeful. But they're all shows I'm really excited about that are debut, and it's a combination, by the way, of upcoming television and upcoming movies, because there are some movies that we know have some really good nude scenes that'll be released in the next couple of months. So
awesome.
Yes, so I want to be not a clairvoyant, but a hairvoyant here and go through the list. So let me start with Outlander.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this show. It's on. It's in its third season's going to debut this Sunday night on the Stars Network, and it's a show that Katrina Balfe is the star, and she's an English. Now, this is really weird, Andrea. She's an English combat nurse from 1945, and she's mysteriously swept back in time to 1743. I don't know why they chose those dates for this story, but it is what it is, right? And she plays this nurse, Claire Randall, and I got to tell you, the first two seasons have had some memorable nude scenes. One in particular was the Kimberly Smart. Was in so picture this woman, she's like in the powdered wig, those old dresses from the 1700s,
right?
But she had these swan nipple decorations, and so she had her open, like her dress where the cleavage would normally be, but it was just her boobs were out, and she had these swan nipple decorations. That was in the second season. They were like ornaments, and I got to tell you, it was
that's a new one.
Yeah, it was. I had never seen anything so get a gander at those. But it's one of my weirder nude scenes I've ever seen. So that happened, and then also there was a famous moment where Laura Donnelly was squeezed some breast milk out into a cup in one of the seasons. But the main reason we're excited about Outlander is the Katrina Balfe nudity, and we have a couple picks for you to look at, Andrea, and I got to tell you, it was really, really. She's a hot girl, hot actress, but not afraid to get naked. So the first two episodes have featured a lot of Katrina Balfe nudity. So we're really excited for Sunday night's debut of Outlander on the Stars Network.
But I will say, you and I probably will be watching The Deuce, so because they come out the same day, probably the same time on different networks.
Oh yeah,
right?
No, listen, it happens all the time. Half the time, I'll say I gotta look up what night shows are on, because
I
rarely watch them the night they're on. Especially, I mean, my Sunday night shows, you're watching an hour and a half Game of Thrones. You don't have time to catch all the other shows, so you got to kind of catch them over the next couple of nights. But so anyway, Katrina Balfe, we're excited.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, she has a little bit of the banana boobs kind of slope down and curve kind of back up. So
the swoopers.
I'm a big fan of those. So anyway, check that out. That'll be this Sunday. We'll be reporting on this probably even in the next podcast, because hopefully the first episode will have some nudity. Now,
excellent.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to go through this. I wrote this stuff down chronologically because I want to kind of just work through. So we're going to go September, October, November, December for the stuff I'm looking forward to nudity-wise in my fun bag forecast. So
yes.
Another show that we're really digging here at the Mr. Skin offices is called You're the Worst, which actually is debuting in 2 days. It's going to be this Wednesday on FXX. It's called You're the Worst with Aya Cash and Kether Donahue. And I got to tell you, Andrea, they get pretty graphic. It's a very black comedy, but they get very graphic on the show. Like one instance, it was in I think last season. So Kether Donahue's like Aya Cash's friend, and she has these big natural boobs. And for some reason, I don't know the circumstances, but her husband was in the room, and she wanted to make him jealous, so she had this black guy have sex with her while he was sitting in the room, and he could care less. She was kind of like doing the cuckold thing, and the husband could care less. He's reading a book, and it was really, if you're into this stuff, it's one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen for cuckolding. But they showed the black guy's butt, like as he was having sex. She was under him, and he was banging her, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is on FXX, which has why. It was pretty crazy. Yeah. But anyway, it was a pretty crazy scene. And Kether actually showed a brief boob nip slip during that sex scene because she was in her lingerie and he was on top, but he was completely nude, banging away. It was pretty hot. And then she also had one of the great moments. One of my favorite nude while eating cereal scene. She was eating Fruit Loops. Kether Donahue. Remember that scene we talked about for the Anatomy Awards? And,
absolutely, just hot babes doing regular stuff, completely naked. It's just like incredible.
Yeah, and she has big natural boobs, like I said. So, and then the star of the show, Aya Cash, her and Chris Gere have had sex scenes where you could see, but we're not seeing tons of nudity, but some really sexy stuff. So You're the Worst with Kether Donahue and Aya Cash, two Skin favorites, will be airing this Wednesday. Season 4 debuts on FXX. So we'll be all over that.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now, another show that I'm looking forward to that debuts next week, actually it'll be Sunday, September 17th, season 2 of Vice Principals. Now, this is the show with Danny McBride. It's very similar. His character is very similar to the. And by the way, this is another like really black comedy. But Danny McBride, what's the show that he? The show he was the baseball pitcher is Eastbound and Down. Eastbound and Down. Yes. Mm-hmm. So his character is very similar to the guy in Eastbound and Down. It's different, but there's a lot of similar, in my opinion. But in this, he's a vice principal at a high school, and it's a, like I said, a really black comedy. But they've had some. The first season didn't have a ton of nudity, but when they did, it was really good. There was a great scene with Anne Farrington, and she was. It was funny because she was in her office doing the breastfeeding pump. And then all of a sudden the meeting came up in her office, so everyone comes in, and she forgot to put her breast back in her suit. So she's there, for a professional meeting, and her whole boob is hanging out of her thing, which was actually a pretty interesting nude scene. Right? And then there was another great sex scene with Dorothy Reynolds in the first season, getting banged up against the glass. But I suspect Vice Principals will have some good nudity, and it's a very funny show with Danny McBride, and that will air Sunday night, September 17th on HBO, season 2. So
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then that Walter Goggins is the co-host with the co-star with Danny McBride. Walton Goggins, I think, is his name, and he's a really funny dude. So anyway, Vice Principals will be out Sunday night on HBO, so check that out.
Cool.
Also, a show you know well, I think.
Yes, I do.
Transparent. You know that show? Yes. Yeah, so Amazon is putting that out, season 4, Friday, September 22nd. And we at the Mr. Skin office know that'll be a very busy day when they release those episodes of Transparent.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's now I would say like of Jeffrey Tambor, he's a transgender person in this, but his daughters in this, Gabby Hoffman being one and Amy Landecker being the other, have done great nude scenes on the show. Now, Gabby Hoffman, Andrea, is all over Mr. Skin for having one of the thickest natural pelts in movies and TV. She was in a movie called Crystal Fairy, and they actually even made a joke in the movie that it should have been called Crystal Fairy or Crystal Harry because of her monster muff. But there's been some crazy nude scenes in this, especially from Gabby Hoffman, but even Amy Landecker has done some good stuff. And I'm very excited for season 4 of Transparent. But you watched the show too, right?
I watched the show.
Yeah.
I know one of the actresses in the show. I'm all about this show. I think the acting's really good. You know, just on an acting level, I think first season, like Judith Light was putting it on a little thick, and she must have gotten the note from the directors because she kind of toned her character down, and it's just a lot more believable. But I just love this show. The writing is epic. The shooting style is epic. The weird nude scenes they've done are so just crazy.
Yeah.
And just mind blowing with Gabby's full natural bush.
She's not afraid to show it. Yeah,
she's not. That's why I love her.
There has not been Jeffrey Tambor nudity yet. We do know that. So.
You know, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I don't know how they would rock that out anyway. And
to see Hank Kingsley's mangina, I don't know how that's going to happen. So,
you know, have you ever done a mangina just for fun, where you tuck everything?
As a youngster,
does it hurt?
Yes,
I have to imagine it hurts
because it's like you also got to like bend your back and stuff. I mean, I guess if you have a huge package, you don't have to bend as much. But it's I think all guys at some point in their lives have tucked their cock in between their legs to have a mangina, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would if I had just to see.
And I would, if I had to estimate the last time that happened, I was in the 13 to 14-year-old range, I would say.
You're saying you don't play mangina weekly?
No, I don't need I don't want to pull a muscle.
Oh, geez, right? That's so funny, though.
Yeah. But anyway, so Transparent, Friday, September 22nd.
Great.
Amazon, they usually release the whole season simultaneously. So
that's right.
That'll be a busy Friday here at MrSkin.com. So we're excited about that.
Me too.
So that's by September. The things I'm excited about in September, but Andrea, October has a lot of great stuff. And let me start with a movie. We're going to switch to movies now called Novitiate. What the? Oh, jeez. Here's where I don't know how to pronounce. Novitiate, is that a word?
That's the name of a movie. I think it's a made up word, but
yeah, Novitiate, and it's a movie that'll be out in theaters on October 27th. And what we're excited about here at MrSkin.com is some of my skin scouts saw this, I believe, at the Toronto Film Fest. If I'm not, or you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe it was at one of the earlier film fests. But anyway, we have confirmation that Andie MacDowell's daughter, Margaret Qualley, will be full frontal in this movie.
Wow!
And you might know her from The Leftovers. She played Jill on HBO, and she did some underwear stuff, but she never did a nude scene. But this was supposed to be really good stuff, and you got to figure, if you don't know who Margaret Qualley is, all I have to tell you is she's Andie MacDowell's daughter. That should be enough. Yeah.
She is beautiful. You know, I know you are as big of a fan as I am of the mother, daughter, whenever there's like another actress who's an offspring, it's just so beautiful to watch and look at the two and see the beauty in each other that they have and that they share. But then when the daughter does nudity, it's like, yes, it's I don't know. There's something like rewarding about it.
Yeah. It's a coming of age. Yeah. So this Novitiate, will be in theaters on October 27th, and Margaret Qualley full frontal confirmation. So we're excited about that. And then, by the way, if you're interested in Andie MacDowell, she did a movie in 1993 called Deception, and she has a sex scene with none other than Viggo Mortensen. And it was the only time she ever showed some boobage. And it's worth noting because it's, she hasn't really done much in her career, but you can see Andie MacDowell's breasts in Deception from 1993 with Viggo Mortensen. So anyway, there's that movie, and then there is another movie that is a weird foreign flick, but I'm still intrigued by this because I got confirmation about a nude scene that I definitely want to see. But it's called The Square.
Okay,
and it's a foreign flick, and Elizabeth Moss, who's started to become a skin favorite here ever since she was Peggy Olson on Mad Men. I thought, there's no way she's ever going to do nude scenes. And next thing you know, she was in She did a Jane Eyre miniseries, or Jane Campion, Top of the Lake. She miniseries where she was nude. She's done that TV show Handmaid's Tale, which is a really cool show on Amazon, where she showed breasts. But in this movie, The Square, my Skin Scouts tell me that we're going to get a full frontal nude shot of her, which I'm kind of intrigued by, and definitely want to check it out. So the movie's called The Square. It'll be in theaters the same day as Novitiate on October 27th. So that'll be a big movie day for us here at MrSkin.com.
Totally. Now, if we were to place bets, how would you guess that Elizabeth Moss has groomed downstairs?
Well, her Pete Moss has to be, looking. I don't think it'll be Monster Bush-like, but I think there'll be some groomage if I had to guess. So
yeah, I feel like I don't know her, but I feel like, all the characters she plays, I feel like I kind of know her. And that's how people feel with celebrities. I feel like she's definitely not the type to be like completely bare, but she's not the type for a wild bush. I think it's probably, something manicured.
Yeah, like neat but abundant. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, the movie's called The Square, and it'll be in theaters on October 27th. So we're
October's looking good so far.
Yeah, October's good. So now there's another movie that I'm just curious about. Okay. That is coming out in October, and I'm very intrigued. Now, I don't know why. So maybe if I explain all this, you'll get intrigued too. But it's called the Meyerowitz Stories, and it's out on October 13th in VOD and limited theaters, and it's an Adam Sandler, Dustin Hoffman movie.
What? That sounds like an unlikely couple. Like
I know, but some people, some Skin Scouts of ours saw this movie and said Grace Van Patten will make her nude debut in a scene. Her character makes trashy films, and she plays the video or one of her films for the whole family. I guess it's like a reunion movie. And
oh my God.
You see her in it completely naked. Now, you say, who is Grace Van Patten? Well, her dad is Tim Van Patten, better known as Salami from The White Shadow, but also a director for The Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire. So I'm just intrigued because I was always a huge White Shadow fan, and Salami was a funny character. I don't know if she's the granddaughter of Dick Van Patten, but she's definitely related to Dick Van Patten too.
Right.
So she comes from an acting family.
Yes.
And it's Grace Van Patten, new debut. And we're very excited about this coming out October 13th. The Meyerowitz Stories with Adam Sandler and Dustin Hoffman. Will definitely
very cool. It's
that.
More of that like Hollywood lineage. Like, let us see what your kids look like naked.
Yeah, right.
As soon as they're old enough.
Yeah, a lot of father-daughter, a lot of mother-daughter in today's episode. Yeah. So anyway, so there's that. And then another thing that is coming out in October that you probably, I don't know if you watch this show, but I know you know about it. It's called Mr. Robot.
Okay, I'm obsessed with Mr. Robot.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't know you were.
Mr. Robot. I'm like totally on the same plane. Like my brain is where that show is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. So anyway, it's the show with Rami Malek, Christian Slater, and it's on the USA Network. And on October 11th, season 3 will be out. And I got to tell you, this isn't a show that's loaded with nudity. So let me say that up front.
Right.
But they have this incredibly hot girl on the show that I'm starting to get a lot of interest in here at the website. And when I go on radio shows, people ask me, like, who's that hot chick on Mr. Robot? Her name is Stephanie Corneliussen. She's a Danish actress and model. And Andrea, she is so pretty.
She's so pretty.
Yeah. And she actually did a nude scene in the first, in last season, and we have that at the website. So she's become really popular. She's done a couple things in the first couple seasons that we were really into, and we're very hopeful that she'll continue, because I got to tell you, like, since the show's come out, sorry, we got the I don't know if you could hear that, but the fire engines were zooming by our thing. But ever since this show's come out, Stephanie Corneliussen's been highly searched at MrSkin.com, so we're really hopeful she'll do some more nudity in season 3 of the show.
I really hope so, because she is drop dead gorgeous. You know, having worked for a Playboy for so long, my husband, for example, is super jaded about hot chicks, just being in his awareness, seeing them on TV or movies or in person. He's just like, okay, more hot chicks, whatever. He's very desensitized. We watched Mr. Robot. He was like, whoa, who is that? That's like the prettiest actress I've
that's
ever
what I'm
seen.
getting. Yeah, it's funny because I go on these, I do my radio shows, and they'll have callers ask me, and I kind of get my finger on the pulse, among other things. While
Let's
I'm
get
doing
your
these
finger
shows.
up in the pulse. Yes.
Right. Well, I get you just kind of notice. I've noticed over the last 2 years, like her name just keeps coming up and coming up. So anyway, it's
cool. I'm excited.
It'll be.
I know
out,
it's unsure, like we're not positive, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, she's done nudity in the first 2 seasons, so she's too hot to not take her clothes off at some point.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
No guarantees, but we'll know on October 11th when the first episode of Mr. Robot season 3 hits television. So we're excited about that. So
awesome.
Yes.
Super
So now I move into
Yeah, baby.
You know what that is, Andrea. This is the Wheel of Skin, where I, of course, am Pat Say Jackoff. You are Vaja White, and this is a Merkin Griffin production. But
that's right.
What the Wheel of Skin is I told CP the EP that some point within the podcast, just throw out the Wheel of Skin, spin the wheel, and ask me any actress from our website, and I'll kind of give you a little story of who she is, why we should love her, and where to see her in her best nude scene. So go ahead, CP, roll the Wheel of Skin, and let's see who comes up.
All right, let's go. And we have Diane Lane.
Ooh, you're a Diane Lane fan, aren't you, Andrea?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes. And I'd love to know everything you can tell me about her. So lay it on me.
Well, here's the thing about her. She's got to be in her early 50s right now. I mean, I think she, if I'm not mistaken, was born in 65, so she'd be about 52 or so.
Okay.
But what a lot of people don't know about Diane Lane, she actually had a really fast start in her career. Like early on, she was like a childhood star, did some I don't know if it was Broadway, but that level of stuff, like when she was real young. And then I remember her in probably the first time I really fell for her was in The Outsiders from 1983. That's the movie with C. Thomas Howell and Matt Dillon, Tom Cruise. I think Patrick Swayze was in that. So she was she played Cherry Valance in that from the famous novel The Outsiders. But that's when I first noticed her. And here's the thing I know a lot of people don't know about Diane Lane, and you'll get a kick out of this. Her mom was a Playboy playmate.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Who's
like
her mom?
in the 50s, Colleen Farrington. She was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, so you knew, number one, she'd be hot. Number two, she'd have big boobs. She checked both boxes, but
just nice boobs. Yeah,
and obviously,
great boobs.
She's had her ups and downs in her career, but lately, like once the late 90s, 2000s hit, she's been, really one of the more, established, famous actresses in Hollywood, and always beautiful. And I got to tell you, if I had to pick 3 movies for Diane Lane, and I think if she's probably been naked in about 13 or 14 films.
Wow.
But if I had to guess, or if I had to say what are the best ones, here are my favorite Diane Lane movies. Definitely Lady Beware from 1987.
Okay.
For some reason, her boobs were so big in that, and she was young. She was like 22, maybe 21 or 22 when she did that movie. Great nude scenes in there called Lady Beware 1987. A sleeper that a lot of people don't know about that I highly recommend is a movie called Vital Signs from 1990 for Diane Lane, especially at the hour and 11-minute mark. She has a sex scene. Andrea, it is so smoking hot. You got to go on our website and check it out. I can't remember the dude's name she's with.
I will never get over the fact that you can just say at the hour and 11-minute mark, like that, that is what I love about you. It's like you have all this in your head. It's crazy. I love it.
Well, thanks.
It never gets old. It never gets old.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's the reason I have this website.
Yes,
so,
love. I love it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but I think the one that everyone, women, guys, young guys, older guys like me or whatever, became Diane Lane fans is the movie Unfaithful from 2002.
Yes.
Which I can't believe it's already been 15 years since that freaking movie came out, because that's the movie where she's married to Richard Gere and she has an affair with that French guy, Oliver Martinez, Oh,
yeah.
So she was like this incredibly gorgeous MILF, and she has this affair, but this was one that was so hot and sexy.
So
even
passionate.
Like my wife sees this movie, and next thing you know, good things are happening in the skin bedroom when she sees this. So I owe a lot to Unfaithful, because I kind of save it on the DVR every once in a while when I need to get things going. But Unfaithful was one of the great sex scenes. It's up there in sexiness with like 9.5 Weeks and some of those movies. But if I had to choose 3 Diane Lane movies to check out of her 13 or 14 movies, I'd go Lady Beware, Vital Signs, and Unfaithful. You get a great kind of a nice, nice career nude sampling.
Absolutely. Get the best of the best, because she has a lot of content out there, so you've kind of guided us to the top 3.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyway, so that's our Wheel of Skin.
Nice.
We interrupted this interrupted this for a quick Wheel of Skin, but let's get back to
the fun bag forecast.
Yeah, the fun bag forecast. And hate to get skin-interrupted, but it's fine for the Wheel of Skin, which we'll do every week. I hope people are digging it. So far, the emails we've gotten on it, people are digging it. But
very cool.
But I want to keep it so that CP just throws them at me, so it makes it more fun. So anyway, let's get into November, Andrea, because there's a lot of good things coming out, really good things coming out in November. Let me start with a movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which will be in theaters November 3rd, and it's a horror movie starring Nicole Kidman.
Okay.
And the reason I bring this up, Nicole Kidman's already been naked 19 times in her career. Most recently, that Big Little Lies on HBO, where she was with one of the Skarsgård dudes and just crazy sex in that. But and Big Little Lies it just made me realize how sexy she is. It was just like, I always was a fan of Nicole Kidman, but after Big Little Lies, I'm back and raring to go, and she's another one in her 50s. But in this movie, my skin scouts that have seen it in advance tell me at the 10-minute mark and about an hour and a half into it, she shows bush and butt tied up on a bed, which I am very interested to check out. She showed bush before. Billy Bathgate is a great example. She's shown her butt many times, dead calm, eyes wide shut, breasts, obviously, but you don't get a ton of bush shots from Nicole Kidman, so I'm looking forward to this. The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which, by the way, if you watch I went and watched the trailer for it. It looks scary as hell. Really looks like it's going to be good. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. So we get the thriller and we get the bush. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and by the way, she is a natural redhead, confirmed in Billy Bathgate. So
because that was the next question I was about to ask. Hell yeah.
So that's called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. That'll be in theaters November 3rd. Another big moment in November. This is huge. It'll be great for the website. It'll probably end up having a nude scene that ends up in our top 10 nude scenes of the year. It always does. The Girlfriend Experience. The Girlfriend Experience on Starz Season 2. Sunday, November 5th. Season 2 starts now. Remember, they started with a movie, The Girlfriend Experience, that Sasha Grey was in, which was awesome.
Yeah, and that was badass.
They did the TV version with Riley Keough, the granddaughter of Elvis Presley, and she did some outrageous scenes. I mean, she was naked so much in that. But then also there was a scene where this guy jerked off on her and left it, and then it was very realistic, and she had to get like a tissue to clean it up, because she's a call girl. But you get so it's an anthology type of show, so they're coming in with a new cast where Anna Friel is going to be. I don't know. Do you know? Does that name ring a bell with you?
It's sounding familiar, but I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think like what you might. I think Limitless is probably the movie she's most famous for being in.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of anything else that would jog your memory of who she is, but she's just she's a gorgeous actress who is from the UK, so that might be another thing, but she's in her early 40s, gorgeous, and has done Nudity, The Tribe, and The Street, 2 places to see her naked, I know, at our website, but she will be in that Riley Keough thing. So Riley Keough is a little younger, so this is kind of an older girl, so I don't know if Anna Friel is going to do the lion's share of the nudity, or they'll have a bunch of other nude scenes, but either way, expect a ton of great stuff from the Girlfriend Experience when it debuts Sunday, November 5th on the Starz Network.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, Riley set the bar. Now I'm sure Anna will bring her home.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so we're tracking that. Now, another big day, another reason, November 5th, mark it in your calendar on Showtime, Season 8, Shameless.
Hell yes. Yeah. Yes. We're going to get good stuff from Shameless.
Oh my God. Shameless is ridiculous. And, it's funny. I was driving on Tuesday last week, and on Sirius on Howard Stern, they replayed my appearance on the Howard Stern show. And
wonderful.
I was listening, and I forget like what the hell I said when I was on the show. So I'm listening like a fan, and it's weird because it's me on the show. But we were doing the Anatomy Awards, and Emmy Rossum won from season 7 last season for the best double lip slip getting out of bed. She was kind of like swinging her leg, and she was wearing just panties, and both lips were visible, and even Howard was like, "Holy jeez, you could see whole vagina there." It's pretty crazy. So yeah, and I just bring that up as a funny little story. But Shameless, I mean, and one of the reasons I love Shameless is because Emmy Rossum, the star of the show, who's gorgeous, does just as much nudity as the extras that come on the show, and she has some incredibly sexy moments. I mean, I remember the very first season when I saw her after a couple episodes. I'm like, oh my God, if this girl's going to get naked, this show's going to be fantastic. And she's done a little something every season that's been awesome, and a ton of other girls have done great nudity on the show. I know Nicole Bloom was one, Sasha Alexander, a TV star, Isadora Gorster, Laura Wiggins. So tons and tons of nudity. Shameless is up there with one of the all-time great shows for television nudity, and it debuts on November 5th on Showtime, Season 8. We definitely will have content the next morning for the Mr. Skin podcast.
Like, no doubt in my mind. And I'm a big fan of Shanola Hampton, the girl who plays V. She won
one year. One year she won an Anatomy Award for best nude while ironing scenes. she was topless
just
while
rocks
she was
my world. Like, her body to me is just so banging, out of control. Yeah. So I'm just like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that Shameless is Sunday, November 5th on Showtime. So we're all over that. And another show that's airing, the Nudity police just keep driving by my window, so if you hear sirens, you might hear fire trucks or sirens. We're right over a busy street here in Chicago. So anyway, Vikings. Season
I love
5.
Vikings.
Oh, Jesus, Andrea, I'm picking all the shows you love.
Yes,
Sorry about that.
I love it. Vikings, like, I've been just dying for it to come out. I'm like, I just can't wait. So let me know what I need to know about Vikings, because I'm going to be watching it anyway, regardless of nudity. So if you're telling me I got something to look forward to even more so, I'm all ears.
Yeah, here's the thing about Vikings. It's weird because I was talking to my content guys about this, and so season 5 of Vikings debuts on the History Channel November 29th. And it's funny because you get to see the nude scenes because you talk to me and I show them to you. But if you tune in to the History Channel for season 5, on November 29th, you are not going to get nude scenes.
Wait, what? Why?
No. Here's what happens. They, it's weird. Now for a while, we've never had nudity on the History Channel from Vikings.
Okay.
But the same exact episodes when they were airing in Canada for a couple seasons, they'd show the nudity. So we would grab all our content from the Canadian feed of that show.
Right on.
Then they stopped doing it over the last couple of years. So now we have to get so Vikings airs, it's like Game of Thrones where it airs all over the world. Mm-hmm. Vikings does the same thing. And we have to go now to the Norway, I think it's Norway or Scandinavia, to get their version of it so we could get the nude scene. So it's really weird. But I will say this, every season when the Blu-ray, uncensored Blu-ray comes out, all the Viking nudity is there. But if you want to see it like kind of in real time as far as the week it happens, you got to come to MrSkin.com where we grab it from Norway and put it in our website. I can't explain it. Even my head of content's like, I don't know, but
it makes no sense. But thank God for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a Viking helmet in my pants when I'm watching Vikings. So very excited about that. Even though I'm not going to get the nude scenes from the History Channel. We'll just have to go elsewhere to get it. So,
and can I just say, there's nothing hotter to me than a Viking bush. Like, I love a blonde bush because they're so rare. Because pubes are always a couple shades darker than your hair color. So even if you're a blonde, you're going to have brown pubes. The Viking pubes, though, are like blonde, and I fucking love that. It takes me back to the old Pamela Anderson pictorials of her with the blonde bush on the beach. Like, it's home to me.
You're right about that. A nice blonde bush. Blonde bush is hard to find. We might have to do a playlist of that and
please
see what we could dig up because
and maybe I'll bleach mine in honor of the occasion.
CP, send me an email so I remember to get content to do a blonde bush playlist. That would be awesome. Of all the blonde bush scenes in the history of what would we call it? Norse hair? I don't know. What would we call that? I don't know. But we'll come up with that. But that'll be good in honor of Vikings. We'll try to do a blonde bush playlist.
Maybe instead of like ash blonde, gash blonde.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
as I sit here, I don't have the answer, but we'll come up with it.
We'll come up with it. Okay, cool. I'm excited though. Yes.
Yeah, so
I've been
Vikings
dying
is
for Vikings. So I'm
November
really
29th,
amped.
History Channel, and we'll definitely check that out.
Cool.
Oh, okay. So last but not least, I wanted to talk about, there's a show in December that we haven't talked a lot about, but the more I go back and watch some of the scenes from it, it's a show that we should be talking a lot on this podcast. It's called Shut Eye.
Okay.
It's from the Hulu network, and it's about this Jeffrey Donovan's running these small chain of fortune-telling like storefronts, and he's kind of a scammer dude, but over the course of the first season, some of these fortune-telling incidents have started to seem like maybe this isn't a scam. Maybe these are really fortune tellers he has employed. It's pretty crazy, but forget about that. I know Isabella Rossellini was one of the fortune tellers on the show, but here's what's interesting. They had a lesbian scene in the first season with Katie Strickland and Emmanuel Shrike. You know Emmanuel Shrike, Sloan from Entourage, but Katie Strickland is from Private Practice, Dr. Charlotte King. And I gotta tell you, I watched it again, and it just was one of the hottest lesbian scenes I've seen. And Katie Strickland shows boobs while Emmanuel Shrike goes down on her. And it is really super hot. If you haven't seen this, it happened in the first season of Shut Eye. Season 2 debuts on December 6th on Hulu. And sometimes Hulu releases it an episode at a time. Sometimes they release it all at the same time. So to be determined. But I'm kind of like, after I watched that again, I was like, that was like I shouldn't say like an unnoticed, but it's just something that I don't think a lot of people realize, some of the hot stuff that's going on Shut Eye. So hopefully when season 2 comes out, I'll do a better job of promoting all this great sex and nudity that's happening on this show. And hopefully we'll get some scenes even close to the lesbian scene between Katie Strickland and Emmanuel Shrike.
Let's hope. I mean, this is complete. So you've taken us all the way up to December. I think we got a hot and heavy fun bag forecast. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, and listen, there's, like I said, I literally have another 30 to 35 things that we know are coming out, but I just wanted to kind of focus on this. So obviously with the upcoming podcasts, anything, as we update things on a weekly basis, I'll have a lot of that covered. But these are the big things. Andrew, if I throw too much at you, you're just gonna, like, if I throw too many balls at you, you're gonna drop them all. So,
well, or I'll catch them in my mouth, like I love to.
I should have said use balls. That was probably a bad thing.
But it's so funny. Like, there's so much. Even with the ones you did hit on, there's so much going on. We have to look forward to: banana boobs, bushes, blonde bushes, and Merkins alike, and naked Hollywood offspring. Like, my favorite things ever to look forward to. And you know what I learned from today's show, aside from all that, is that manginas hurt. So be careful, guys.
Fun.
Don't try one. I mean,
yeah, that's probably the big takeaway from today's show. But the other big takeaway is I have my content department putting together a blonde bush playlist after this, so it's all good. It's all good.
Well, that was absolutely epic. No exaggeration. Episode 61. And I want to remind all of our listeners, if you have a question that you'd like Mr. Skin to answer, leave us a voicemail with your questions or your comment, and we'll pick the best ones and play one on an upcoming episode of Mr. Skin Podcast. The number is 484-SKIN-POD.
This concludes another scintillating episode of the Mr. Skin Podcast. Subscribe to the Mr. Skin Podcast in iTunes and never miss a show. Thanks for listening.